And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. And we are today, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough going on. But today we're going to talk about when you can't feel love. And I forgot to mute this tab. Where does it say mute site? There we go. I could hear the echo. All right. So um, this topic came from, I got an email from someone. So thank you very much to that person who sent the email with this question, because it's such a great topic and it's something that I think everyone, or no, certainly a lot of people experience and need clarification on and some advice on. So, in this case, this person was trying to follow along with the self-love workshop, which we did live on YouTube, and that's on our channel. I'll put the link to that playlist in the description of this video. And part of that is what we call a beginner's exercise, which we also use for changing childhood memories as well. And it's about feeling love for someone or something as part of this exercise. And this particular person, like many others, was saying that she has trouble feeling the love. She said she knows she loves the person or pets, but she can't feel it. So this is something we were talking about this morning as well. So Steve, was there anything you wanted to say before I launch in?
Well, yeah, no, I
Before I
think
get
it
on?
is I think it is a very important topic because in you know in doing the work myself and the kind of struggles that I've had in being able to feel
Mhm.
love, um and in the work that I do with clients, in individual one-to-one clients, this is often a very common thing that most people experience as they're beginning to do this work, especially if they've had some kind of an experience or a background. And I don't want to speak for everybody, but I know for me that that feeling of um, love, that feeling of feeling love for yourself or feeling love in general is one of those things that in childhood we may have learned was kind of a cringy thing, or it wasn't safe to love. There can be any number of different kind of things going on in the background. But if that was a common experience, then it is not something that we know or that we've developed uh, the ability to do. And I know that you're going to talk about this, but that feeling of love is naturally there, and that we need to uncover that, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. But yeah, I would just say if feeling if not being able to connect with the feeling of love feels like where you're at, don't feel alone.
All right. Thank you for that. Yes. So, Steve and I both had trouble in the beginning feeling love as well. And as Steve mentioned, when you grow up where love is either not safe, feeling love or expressing love is not safe, and or in my case, it's a really uncomfortable, icky kind of thing. So my family were like, it feels really I don't know, vulnerable or whatever, and strength is anger. Strength is not love. So it was a very, as I said to Steve this morning, it was a 360, and then I corrected myself. I mean, a 180. It was a complete 180 for me. So, and I'm sharing that because if I was able to do that 180, then I know that others can as well. So hopefully that's reassuring. So I'm going to start at the point of what this person was saying, that they have two of their dogs that passed away a few years ago. So and there's no because, as you know, we usually say don't pick anything that where there's missing or longing or anything like that. And this person said that the grief or whatever it is and the pain is not there anymore because it was a while ago. And this person was saying that she knows she loves her dogs, but she can't feel it. So the first question I would ask, so this is for everybody who is experiencing that, is how do you know that you love your dog? So when you think about I love my dogs, or my, the person, or the whatever your subject is, but I can't feel it. How do you know? So first question is, how do you know that you love them? So I used my son when he was a baby for these for my, that was my subject for the beginner's exercise. And so when I think of my son, I love him. I can feel it straight away, but if I couldn't, then my answer would be, okay, so how do I know that I love him? Now, there could be a few different options. So, number one, it could just be, I just know intellectually. So, I can't feel it, but I just know it. So, that's one answer. Another answer can be, uh, I just know that I should. So for some people, it's that I should love that person or that thing, but I can't feel it. So just identify for yourself, if you can, when you say I love that person or object or thing, how do you know? Okay, so that's the first piece. The other point about this is you may know you love something because you feel it, but you aren't recognizing it. So you aren't feeling it in your body. And this is a point that we wanted to make, is that most people don't know, and I didn't know until a few years ago, that emotions are physical. So, we tend to think of emotions as kind of intangible, but they are physical sensations, literally physical sensations in the body that we recognize and identify as an emotion. So when I feel a certain sensation in my body, I may recognize that as I feel angry, or I feel frustrated, or I feel love, or I feel excited or happy. All of those things, all of those emotions come from a physical sensation. But because we're not used to tuning into the physical part of that, we tend to jump to the end interpretation. If I'm looking for love, like I'm looking to feel love, I can't feel love. It may be that I'm just not recognizing the physical sensations of it. So an example would be, as I think of my cat or my dog or my puppy or whatever, my budgie, um, I I feel it, but I'm not recognizing it as love. I'm just recognizing the knowing of it. So that's one possibility. What I There's a couple of the other. So one possibility is just not being able to recognize it, or um, being aware of it. The other thing is there could be protection there, and this is for so many people, including Steve and me, at one point,
Hmm.
where it's not safe to feel love. It's not safe to admit to feeling
Hmm.
love. It's not safe to feel good in general for many people. So that's that. So we're going to give you very specific steps to take. But first, I want to cover the kind of theory of it. Um, a, a very important foundational piece of information to know is that love is natural, it's automatic, and it's who we really are. So the fact that you can't feel love right now does not mean you can't feel it. It doesn't mean you won't feel it. And it doesn't mean it's not there. It is who we are, and it's covered up. So we tend to, from birth, some of us have covered up that love as a form of protection, or because it's just not normal. Um, so it's in there somewhere, but we can't feel it because it's so covered over with protection, with protection mechanisms, that kind of thing, coping mechanisms, and layers of protection. So this is mostly all right. So we're going to help you. We're going to give you steps to so the point is, we don't need to learn to love. We need to, number one, remember rather than learn it. Remember it because it is who we are and it is there. And number two, and most importantly, we need to feel safe to allow it. So those are those two things. So it's who we are. And then the second piece that we want to give you is practical steps. So starting very, very small, starting tiny. You may not be able to feel love right now, but can you identify things you like? And you may want to start with things like, music and coffee and things like that. So here's a little action step to take. Make a list of things you like. So start with, what foods do you like? What drinks do you like? What music do you like? What colors do you like? What animals do you like? What kind of nature do you like? Sunsets, fields, trees, the beach. What cars do you like? What flowers do you like? And so on. So go make yourself a nice long list of just things you like. So no love involved yet. If and then Steve came up with this great idea is that if you can't even think of anything you like, for a lot of people who are there where I don't like anything, then do this. So this is Steve's little kind of exercise here. Pick two things and just put them side by side and just identify which one you prefer. So this isn't even like, this is preference now. So you just go back as far as you need to go. Steve, you wanted to?
No, I was just going to say that this, especially if people are experiencing, a depressive state, and this is
Yes.
where I was at. So this is actually coming from my experience of being in a place like that and having somebody working with me, um, and helping me. And it's like, look, I can't, I'm not even a place where I like something. And so it's just like we were on a walk and it's like, all right, those two trees right now, which one of these two trees do you prefer? And it's not going to make any logical sense. It's just like, I remember that being in that state of like, okay, that one. And it's not, you don't have to explain why, you don't have to justify it. It's just like recognizing that in the moment, I prefer that as opposed to that.
Right. Thank you for that. Yes. It's a nice gentle way to
Mhm.
start opening the door just a little bit.
Yeah.
So thank you. Then, once you've kind of either made your list or you've picked a preference, and in fact, if you're starting with the preference thing, do that with a few different things, and think of this as you're kind of warming up a muscle. So it's not like, oh, well, picking between two things as a preference is going to solve the whole, issue. Keep going. It's just a way to start inching open the door and then go to the next thing and the next thing. Well, do I prefer, you know, um, a blue
Which
thing
two
or a
coffee
white thing
mugs,
or
yeah,
coffee?
do I prefer? Yeah.
So keep going until you're able to identify that you
Mhm.
actually like something, or you think of something that, oh yeah, I kind of like, birds or whatever. So then you get to the point where you've got now a list of things that you like. And if you've started with the preference thing, you may only have one thing you like, and that's okay. Then go to pick a thing that you like, and now we're going to press pause and slow down. So we tend to jump to, I like that plant. I just like that plant, or without any, or I like that plant because it's green. Now we're going to slow it down to, how do I know that I like that plant? And you can do with the prefer as well. How do I know I prefer that thing to that thing? And by how do I know what, I don't mean the reasons, I mean, how do you know that you like it? So, for example, I like that plant because it's green. I like green. Well, how do I know I like green? Now I slow down and I start to notice what's happening inside me. So we tend to look outside of us and go, I like that because of that, or I love that person because of that, and that's all outside. So what we want to do is notice what's happening inside as we register the subject. So now I'm looking at the plant or the person or the animal, or listening to the music, and notice what's happening inside your body. And at first the answer may be, well, nothing. I could, because the focus is we're so out there. And that's okay. If that's the answer, that's okay. Just slow down a little more and go, okay, so nothing right now, and keep noticing, because something is happening inside us all the time. Every moment of noticing or being being around thoughts, registering things in our environment, what we hear or what's coming in through our senses, physiologically, neurons are connecting in our brain, triggering chemicals that are causing reactions in our organs and causing sensations. It may not always be very strong, it may be very subtle, and certainly negative responses are going to be much stronger because of survival. So we'll certainly notice if we're feeling upset or angry or frustrated or frightened, because those chemicals are stronger. But there are feel-good chemicals as well. It's just that sometimes they're not as strong. So you need to just pay a little bit more attention. And because we're not used to focusing on that, on the physical sensations of an emotion, we're not aware of it. So it takes a little bit of intention. So you look at the thing you like, or listen, or hear, smell, or whatever whatever. So it's the smell of coffee or grass or whatever, um, and and bring your focus, your attention to, okay, so what am I feeling here? So an example may be, as I look at that puppy, I feel something in my chest. I don't know what it is, but there's some kind of change. When I look at the chair and when I look at the puppy, there's a shift in something, and that's the start. And do that until you're able to identify it quite easily and quite clearly, so that you look at something you love, or you listen to it, or whatever, you register something you love, or you register something you like, sorry, or prefer, and you can notice a shift, physical shift. Then you keep doing that until that physical sensation becomes stronger. And the more you focus on it, the stronger it will get, because as you're focusing on it, that's neurons connecting, putting more of the same chemicals into your system. So it will get stronger the more you focus on it. Another tip is that when you are focusing on something you like, um, go into a little bit more detail of the thing you like. The more detail you go into, the more of those neural networks are connecting, and the more the matching chemicals will enter your bloodstream. So, for example, if you were to go, I love my dog, or I like my dog, or I love my dog, but I can't feel it. Okay, what do I like about my dog? What's so great about this dog? Well, his cute face, and look at those eyes and the ears, and go into a lot of detail. Has the dog ever done anything funny? The more detail you go into, the more those neurons are firing, the more you're going to start putting feel good chemicals into your system. And the thing is, you are putting feel good chemicals into your system already as soon as you register the thing you like. It's just that you can't feel them yet, probably because the stress chemicals are higher, or because you've got the protection thing, or you're just not used to it. I know one of the things I mentioned to Steve this morning is, and this is in the Superpower book, and I came across it the other day because I'm reading it, recording it at the moment. And it's when I first started tuning into love, and I didn't find it easy to do. I felt really uncomfortable. I found it really cringy, the whole idea of love in general. And but I knew that it was key to making changes in myself and to changing my life. So I didn't have the beginner's exercise back then. I just started trying to feel it, just trying to feel love. And it took me ages because it felt so uncomfortable. And the analogy I was using is that if you've got a poster that's been rolled up for a long time, when you try to unroll that poster, and certainly if you try and roll it the other way, it keeps um, jumping back into that roll, into the way it's been rolled, of course. That doesn't mean that you can't make it roll the other way, but it does mean you have to do it more. So you keep rolling it the other way over and over and over, and eventually it'll straighten out, and then you can roll it the other way. In the same way, for those of us who have not been able to experience the feelings of love, we either grew up like that, or it's been for a long time we haven't. It's like that. It's like our posters rolled up that way, and when you start trying to feel it, even using the beginner's exercise, um, because because you're used to the other way, because you're not used to it, your poster keeps rolling back the other way. So you just need to keep doing it. The fact that you can't feel it now doesn't mean you can't feel it. Just like when you try and ride a bicycle, the fact that you can't ride it yet doesn't mean you won't ride it, or you can't. It means you just need more practice. So start with the things you like. Start very gently with the things you like, and then build from there. And noticing what's happening physically inside you. Steve, was that everything? I can't. Those are all my notes that I have. Anything to add? Anything I've left out?
No. What I would say is that that experience, and I didn't have kind of a before after experience uh ex with you in terms of I met you after that process. So for me to try to imagine you in a place of not being that kind of bubbly fountain of exuding love, just it's like I can't imagine that. So knowing knowing that that was your pattern, what would you say in terms of uh ec- I don't know if the word expectation, it's like how how long or how laborious for people that are not necessarily feeling it right now, what would you say? How long is this process going to take kind of
Yeah,
thing?
it's a great question. It's
Yeah.
a very good question. It, of course, is going to depend on the individual, because everybody's in a different place with different, pasts and that kind of different references. And it varies from day to day as well. So,
Mhm.
part of being a human is it's up and down and up and down. There's no straight line.
Yeah.
However, I would say start just by aiming for 1 minute at a time. So what I did was I could only do it for a few seconds at a time to begin with. But again, I didn't have the beginner's exercise. So it
Mhm.
took me longer than it will take you. That's, for a start. It
Okay.
took me longer because I didn't have the techniques that we now teach, number one. Number two, what I did was I did it for a few seconds and then I stopped. I kept stopping because it was really uncomfortable. It was almost painful, is how
Mm.
uncomfortable
Mm.
it felt for me because I was so full of stress chemicals. So I did it a few seconds, then I'd stop and I'd leave it alone and then come
Yeah.
back. So throughout the day, I would try it every now and then. And sometimes I could hold it for longer, other times I couldn't feel it at all. So again, because it's not a straight line, it's very up and down. There are going to be times when you feel like I can't do this, and remind yourself, I can't do it right now. I will try again later. It doesn't mean I won't be able to do it. So it's a long time ago now, so I can't
Yeah.
remember, exactly how long it took. I do know it was up and down. I do know one of the big things was I kept forgetting to do it. I kept forgetting to practice. That was
Mhm.
a big thing. I eventually put reminders for myself in the house to remember. Um, and so it is just, keep practicing. And now that, of course, the piece that I was missing back then, that I didn't have back then, that we do have now, that goes with all of this, was the childhood memory stuff. So these two things kind of go together and
Yeah.
affect each other. And I'm going to share something that I didn't share with you this morning. This occurred to me this morning before you, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning before you were up. Um, but I suddenly thought, and this is still a question for me, so I'd love to hear other people's, I'd love to hear your input and
Yeah.
other everybody else's input as well. The thought suddenly struck me this morning, is the real thing here that we're aiming for unconditional love? So we know unconditional love is a power. We know it's who we really are, and so on. And of course, now that I'm recording the Superpower book for our YouTube channel, I'm revisiting everything I wrote
Hmm.
back then. And so, is it that that is the ultimate place to be, the ultimate state, the ultimate power? And the negative childhood memories that we change, that is what most of our channel is about, most of our videos are about, and the work we do, is that just in order to get us to a place of
Hmm.
pure unconditional love, and that's kind of where we want to be? Or is it more of an equal thing?
Hmm.
So, in other words, because I thought, yeah, that's the thing, that's the power, that's the ultimate, and then the childhood memory stuff is only to get to that. But then and then I wasn't sure, and I was thinking, oh, no, you do need both. So, I'd love to hear, other input on that.
Well, for what it's worth, I would say that over the years of doing this work, and recognizing that my starting point, or one of those big drivers for me, in doing this work, um, was recognizing that what I lacked was a connection to my authentic self. So I
Mm,
I use that word, and I know it's probably overused out there uh, in the self-development space, but that sense of coming to know who I am authentically. And
mhm,
what I think I've discovered over the years is that that authentic self really is self-love. And that is not necessarily a sentence that would have made any sense to me 10 years ago. But coming to that place of recognition that self-love, or unconditional love, I'm sorry, I meant to say unconditional love, that unconditional love is who we are
yes, yes, yes.
foundationally, fundamentally, that's authentically who I am. So I think that the answer to your question is that yes, all of this work that we're doing with um, memory reconsolidation and changing childhood memories, all of that is important. I see it as like either lifting off the veils that have been obscuring my
Hmm.
ability to recognize this
Yeah.
this knowing of unconditional love. So it's critically important, and yes, they kind of go hand in hand. But it's not like we have to, throughout this work. It's important to remember that we don't have to become unconditional love. We don't we don't have to develop that power. We don't have to acquire something from the outside. We are already. That's our starting point. And everything
Hmm.
else is just about get clearing the delusion that I don't have that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Did I say that in a way that made sense?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's you put it really well. Because if that's our core, it's also like, and I suppose it's, well, could be, yeah. So I do believe that that is who we all are,
Mhm.
is unconditional love, and I believe that that's what the universe, God, spirit, source, whatever word a person puts to it, um, I believe that that's what that feels like, and that this is about that changing the childhood memories is about coming back to or remembering or feeling safe enough to be me, which is the
Hmm.
unconditional, authentic self. Um, I was going to say it's like an actor. I suppose, the authentic, the unconditional love is the actor, and then who we are, our personalities, and that are like the characters. But it's not quite like that, because obviously an actor is deliberately playing a role,
Hmm.
whereas we're oblivious to it until we suddenly start to recognize it. So it's yeah, I like that idea, and the fact that changing the childhood memories enables us to become more of who we are, which is unconditional love, but it's not enough on its own.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I know that what we were talking about earlier today, just kind of this notion that it's a bit of a catch-22 or a cyclical kind of thing, that it's like in order for us to really feel love or to understand ourselves as love, we need to change those negative things from our past that obscured that or made it difficult for us to feel that. So, it's like, where do we get started on that cycle? Um,
mhm,
and I'm just trying to bring this back a little bit to that initial question of how do I feel love? I can't feel love. How do we get this
mhm.
momentum started? How do we get, so I'm,
Yeah.
hope, I'm hoping that this discussion has helped a little bit in terms of providing some answers to that and some encouragement that there's nothing wrong. There's nothing
Mhm,
wrong with you, uh, and I'm
mhm,
speaking to myself, as well, that there was nothing wrong with
mhm,
that feeling that I can't connect with love. It's not safe to love, all of that kind of thing. But just recognizing, like most of what we're teaching, it's about building new neural pathways. It's about building this new skill, this new ability to allow yourself to feel, to tune
mhm,
into what is there, what's happening naturally in the background. And I'm not going to go into it in detail, but I did work with a client one time that was absolutely convinced that she could not feel anything. I
mhm,
don't have any feelings.
mhm,
And it's like, it, we can get to that point where we feel, that convinced, that there's something broken inside of me that I don't have the ability to feel anything. And that,
mhm,
it's like we may have lost the connection, but that's not what's going on inside. Uh,
mhm.
there is the physiological stuff that's going on in the background. Feelings
Yeah.
are happening, and it's just our ability to come home to that.
Yeah, and I think going back to that point that it's about feeling being able to be being able to feel safe enough to allow it. So it's not about trying to conjure it up or trying to create it. It's about aiming to get to a point where you feel safe enough to allow it. And that uh, to get to that point, starting with the simple little exercises that we mentioned earlier, making a list of things you just like or prefer, and then slowly, bit by bit, taking that attitude of I'm going to slow it right down so I can really home in here and zoom in here and see what's going on, the stuff that I normally ignore or filter my brain normally filters out, like there's a slight sensation in my chest or I feel something in my throat, whatever. So really slowing it down. um so that's one step. And then the second step, of course, is changing the negative childhood memories that are proving that it's not safe to feel
Yeah.
love.
So
That
anybody, I know that we were directly, answering a question, but for anybody that isn't to that point yet, just a reminder of a good place for them to jump in right now might be taking a look at that little 5-day workshop that we did. Um,
Yes.
and the links to that are in the description. It's on a playlist on the channel as well. I think another great resource is, picking or listening to the audiobook. You have a
Mhm.
superpower that you're generously uploading onto the channel. So I think that's another way for entree. Anything else that you'd like to add to that?
No, and that link is also in the description.
Mhm.
So I do want to say to the person who sent that email, I hope that has helped. But if not, please do let us know what you still need, if you still need more suggestions, or if any of that doesn't work for you. And the same for everybody. Please keep sending in your messages, your messages in general, but your questions and put them in the comments so that we can answer them so that everyone can benefit from the answers as well. I can't tell you how much we appreciate every time we get a comment and someone likes the video and someone shares the video. We appreciate it so much because one of the biggest challenges that we have is getting this information out to the people who need it. It's really hard to reach those people who need it, and because it's a very noisy place to be, of course. So anything you can do to share, to help, to get this out to those who can benefit, we very much appreciate it. And especially, sorry, I know I'm going on a bit about this, but I used to be in that position where I desperately
Mhm.
needed this kind of information and I couldn't find it. So,
Right.
and then somebody finally did share something with me that completely turned everything around for me. All right, so I think that's it for this one. And
Yep.
yeah, check the links in the description. I'll put a pinned comment as well. And we will, oh, please let us know what topics you would like us to
Mhm.
do another 5-day workshop on. We so enjoyed doing that 5-day workshop. And let us know what you would like to see us do a 5-day workshop on. Same thing, sort of live on YouTube. All right, everybody. See you next time. Lots of love to all of you.